Hello AOS fans, Robin here. Now this is totally awkward. Pete and I have recently released our video of why we're not playing Underworlds at the moment, and then a couple of weeks after release, or a week or so after release, Games Workshop sent me this, and I kind of assume we missed the boat. They normally send things early if they're going to send them. They don't normally send things afterwards, so I kind of thought we missed the boat. That isn't why we recorded that video, but I wasn't expecting to get Arena Mortis, and we had decided that we weren't going to buy it because, well, we didn't really think it added much to the game. I've now got to have a look at it. So, you know, people always say, oh, you're just GW shills. I've kind of got to put my money where my mouth is now, haven't I? Let's have a look in the box and see what it's like. I mean, first up, it's a cardboard box. I think it's better than plastic, but then disappointed to see it's in plastic inside. Everything about this product, I think, is going to be tempered by the fact that I feel like it's totally unnecessary. I don't think anybody who's been playing the game needed this expansion, wanted this expansion. Even if you've been playing Arena Mortis, maybe you think, well, okay, I wouldn't mind some new cards, or I wouldn't mind another board. But you get another board. Pete and I mentioned that in our previous video that we'd actually like less boards in the game, so I'm not particularly happy to see another board. It's just another board to carry around. I don't think it's a particularly great board. It's got 3 edge hex starter hexes. In fact, they both have. This one's got a lethal and a blocked hex next to each other. I mean, I'm a bit out of touch with the game at the moment, so I'm not sure how good a board it is. I have heard that it's not a particularly interesting board. They're not particularly great. So, I mean, maybe they'd be fun. I feel like for Arena Mortis, maybe you want more lethal hexes. Of course, because of this kind of connectivity of the two games, they put a board with lots of lethal hexes on it. Then that's going to be lethal for in the main game, or it's going to have connotations for the main game. And that, I guess, is probably one of the big things about this kind of unboxing. I do think that it is time for GW to support both formats, fine, but then delineate the two, or have some cards that are in here that you just can't use in the Underworlds game. I don't think these cards are as overpowered as the previous iteration, but we'll come on to that in a minute. So you do get your Arena Mortis rules. It's quite interesting. It tells you about the Mortis lenses, and it's got the various stuff in here about how to play the game. And it hasn't changed massively since the previous iteration. So if you've played it before, you know how to play it. I think the game is actually quite good. It goes on a little bit too long for me. I think it could do with being a little bit shorter, but it's good fun. All the games we've had have been good fun. You've got some nice tokens. It has got the wound token. If you haven't got these, I mean, I guess you could just replicate them with the numbers 1 to 10, but they are quite useful, these big tokens. Not that I use them, but I could see that they could be useful. In the Voltron meta, it can be quite hard to tell how many wounds your fighter has got, or your opponent's fighter has got, and so it's a bit annoying when you sort of beef up to a 5 damage attack, and then he says, oh, actually, he's got 7 wounds. So that's a good way of visualising the extra wounds. That's quite good. I quite like that. But you've got some tokens in there. The rules haven't ostensibly changed. You do get a little pack of environment cards. Now, these aren't used in the main game. I guess you could use them in the main game, but they aren't used in the competitive game. And they add little extra features that kind of just mix things up for Arena Mortis. Again, brilliant for Arena Mortis, and that's kind of perfect. These aren't available in the main game. So, you know, great. Arena Mortis is its own thing with its own stuff, its own fun. It's a bit lighter. Brilliant to have that. And then you've got the cards. You've got a couple of new fighter cards that you're obviously only using Arena Mortis, and these guys are really strong in the game, or certainly Fallbringer is very strong. But it's nice to have his own card. He hasn't got an Inspire type. There's no way you can accidentally slip him into your Curse Breakers team. He's a level 3 wizard. I mean, they are just very, very strong. 3 swords, 3 damage attack off the bat. He's very strong indeed. They've got 4 wounds each, so they're good fighters, and they are very good in the game. So they're in there. So again, sort of packaged, isolated to Arena Mortis, which I like. Then there's the cards. Some cards that actually do with playing Arena Mortis. And then there's a deck of 40 cards. So 20 of the 60 are included here, which is interesting because they are different size, but they are 20 to 60, so they are cards something like 40 to 60. Cards 1 to 40 are here. Yes, cards 1 to 40 are here, and they are split 20 gambits and 20 upgrades. So despite my reservations about the Arena Mortis, there are some cards in here, and maybe we should have a little look at them. I have looked through them, and I feel that there's some really neat effects in here. Whether they are going to make a splash on the meta, I can't really comment on. I don't feel like they will. I feel like they have learned some lessons from Arena Mortis. They haven't learned the lesson that we don't particularly want another pack in the off season, but they have learned that the Arena Mortis cards were really too strong and unbalanced things. I don't know what the turnaround time for this kind of stuff is. People say it's 18 months, which would mean that they wouldn't necessarily have noticed that before these are built, but they just seem underpowered compared with the Arena Mortis cards, and that's a good thing. We don't want to see them more restricted. Of course, we end up in this peculiar zone where if they're too underpowered, then you think, well, they're no use, so nobody's going to use them, so why are they in my box? So, for example, the seals, I guess, are similar, I suppose, the Mortis relics, but they're a lot less powerful. They have kind of a drawback, I guess, to them. So, for example, the Seal of Ultimus, if you've got 2 seals, you get +2 wounds. +1 wound, sorry. If you have 3, then you get +1 move. And if you have 4, you can take an action, which you can pick an opponent and take one of his glory points, but then you discard the card. So that's it. There's basically, for 4 upgrades, you'd be trading a +1 move. Well, you'd have a +1 move, and because you've got to discard this card, so you need 4 upgrades on it in the first place. Then you're going to discard this one, which means the +1 wounds and the +1 move are gone. So I think there's quite a lot of negative. Maybe right at the end of the game you might pick up a glory, but there's a lot of negative points for doing that. So actually, I'm not sure that the Seal of Ultimus is that good. So there's the Seal of Wretched, which is after an upgrade this fighter has is discarded, give this fighter that upgrade, then discard this card. This can be insanely powerful with cards like Visions of Glory. You can basically charge again, and then you can bring it back again and discard. So that has potential, and it really depends on how much discarding tech becomes a big thing in Season 5, because the Seal of Wretched could stop you from losing all important upgrades. The Seal of Ordelos is +2 defense, but when you make it after attack action in which you make a defense roll, if it contains 1 or more crits, you take a wound and give an opponent a glory point. So you've obviously got 2 defense, which is great, but you've got 4 more chances of rolling a crit. Then I think that might be worth a bash, depending on which fighter you're using. But yeah, I mean, you potentially can be looking at giving away some glory there. The Seal of Primus, which is I think is a terrifying picture. The Seal of Primus. This fighter's attack actions have cleaving and snare, great, woo! But after this fighter's taken out of action, pick one opponent, that opponent gains 1 glory point. So you're kind of going to be giving away 2 glory points with the death of that. But it just gives you cleaving and snare, which is pretty strong. So I don't know where the balance might lie for that. I think it might depend on the fighter. If you've got a big tough fighter who isn't going to go out of action very easily, then 1 glory point probably never happen. Or yeah, it's probably the least you worry. So maybe that's a good card. There's quite a thick stack of cards, didn't count them, but there's quite a thick stack of cards which are all to do with combo. Brilliant, I like the combo mechanic. I'm not sure it might be too late, unless you're playing the Blade Coven, which nobody ever seems to play, because the combo mechanic was cycling out for Season 5, and one assumes, we don't know whether maybe we'll see it back, but we don't tend to. So that's good, but maybe it's too little too late. Combo never really got off to a good start. We've got some interesting ploys, and they are interesting. So they do explore interesting game space. So this one, Centre Weakness, means that you can re-roll. So basically, if your opponent is wounded, you can re-roll attack dice against them. So you know, if you've got some ping damage, and this card could be really good. It's a ploy, because you can re-roll attack dice against damaged creatures. Your blade is broken. I really like this one. So when your enemy has killed one of your fighters, their sword snaps. So that reduces the attack damage characteristic by 1 to a minimum of 1. And again, it's a ploy, and it persists until the enemy is taken out of action. So it's just really, that's quite kind of nice. And actually, I know people don't really like gotcha mechanics. It's not exactly a gotcha mechanic, but it is kind of like if you are playing against that Voltron meta, and suddenly they rely on their great strength, and suddenly you've negated their great strength with a flick of a card. I quite like that one. Omega's Offering, or Omega's Offering. Choose one friendly fighter and put 1 glory point on this card. After the chosen fighter is taken out of action by an enemy warband, you gain the glory point on this card. This effect persists until the chosen fighter is taken out of action. So it's like a mini Avarice, Crown of Avarice card. It's a ploy, it takes up a vital ploy slot. Being a ploy, I think, makes it less powerful, probably going to see it less. Crown of Avarice was around a lot because it persisted, so you stay on if you could have it resurrect a fighter. But this one is a ploy, so the ploy slots tend to be more fought after than upgrade slots. Not so much under the Voltron circumstances, that is true. Lessons learned, another lovely thematic card. I had to read it about 5 times before I understood it, but you play this card after a gambit or attack action that takes one or more friendly fighters out of action. Friendly fighters have innate sword and shield. This effect persists until after an attack action that targeted a friendly fighter or until a friendly fighter is taken out of action. So you basically, if you've got a horde warband, you're going to be losing fighters quite fast. Quite like that, because it means it's then harder to pick off the rest of the horde, or at least for the next attack. I think it is pretty cool. Final Gambit, again another beautiful thematic card. You can roll 3 dice, 3 attack dice. If you get 1 or more crits, you can make a charge action, otherwise you die. So, to work towards the end of the game, or when your best fighter has already charged and is down to 1 wound, probably worth a try. How often will you get crits on a roll? If it's me, more often than if it's big time, I imagine. Drawing Power, again a lovely thematic card. You choose one friendly fighter that is holding an objective, so from objective play you deal 1 damage to them but give them a guard and a charge token, so you want to do this at the end of the round, but then they get +1 dice and +1 damage to that fighter's range 1 or 2 attack actions. So it's a really strong effect with some proper negatives, and you might well die before you even get to use it. So Drawing Power, interesting card. And I suppose we're comparing these cards in isolation to what has gone before, and maybe this is the beginning of a toning down. Maybe there are going to be less powerful effects in Season 5. We have generally seen the card power has generally gone down, with the possible exception of the Arena Mortis deck last year, which I think is what frustrated me so much about it, because they had started to reduce the power and they just seem incredibly overpowered. So maybe that's what we're going to see. Maybe that's going to be a really good card, because it does give you that +1+ damage. There aren't going to be very many things like that around, but I mean, I can't see why you would take that while punching up into round, for example. Of course, the problem with more subtly written cards here is that you've got the Essentials pack, which a lot of those are just going to trump what's written in any more subtle card writing, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what Season 5 brings. There are, I think, some supremely overpowered cards, or very strong cards. I think at least a couple of these are going to get restricted. We've got Dark Sacrifice. Play this after a gambit or attack action that takes 1 or more friendly fighters out of action. Draw 2 power cards. That isn't insanely overpowered in itself, but card draw is strong, although things like To the End will be gone. But I think you are pretty much always going to lose fighters. So Dark Sacrifice, pretty much, unless it comes out right at the bottom of the deck, is always going to be strong if you're looking for card draw. Burning Wrath. Not sure this is overpowered, but it's a fascinating card. Choose 1 friendly fighter. You can reroll any number of attack dice in that fighter's attack rolls. That's pretty OP. At the start of each of your activations, deal 1 damage to the chosen fighter. This effect persists until the chosen fighter is taken out of action. Ow! Ow! Again, situationally, could be awesome. Breaking the Food Chain. Again, this seems like it will be in a lot of decks. +1 dice to attack actions that target an enemy fighter with a wounds characteristic of 5 or higher. Now, there are some games where this card just won't be usable. This effect persists until a fighter with a wounds characteristic of 5 or higher is taken out of action. But if you're playing something like Gits, I would say the Stalkers, but maybe less so, because they have got Clacktrock, and you're probably going to be wanting to get him up to 5, and he could die and you lose this card. The Fish, they've got lots of low wound count fighters, so that could be strong for them. But yeah, it's +1 attack dice for against big boys. So that could be, obviously there's some matches where it's no use, but that's potentially a great card. A good death, and this is going to see a lot of play, and I think it's going to end up restricted. Play this after enemy fighter's attack action that takes a friendly fighter with a lower wounds characteristic than the attacker out of action. Gain 1 spent glory point. So yes, basically again, Fish, Stalkers, Gits, warbands like that. As soon as somebody dies, pop that out. Glory point, please. So yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of that card. Another thematic card. I got a bit muddled up because I had to go and have lunch in between recording this video. We've got Dying Curse. So Dying Curse is beautifully thematic. During an enemy fighter's attack action, after the deal damage step, if the attack action dealt enough damage to this fighter to take them out of action, discard this card. So -2 wounds to the attacker to a minimum of 1. And it persists in the same way as persisting gambit until the attacker is taken out of action. So it can be cancelled because it's the same as a persisting gambit if you've got the cancellation cards that are out there, aren't there? But -2 wounds to the attacker. I quite like that. I like the idea of being cursed as somebody dies. Again, great on small warbands, easy to kill warbands. Pretty much on any warband, this is pretty strong. It's going to certainly make you think twice about attacking somebody with your big guy if you're going to lose 2 wounds off them. That could be the difference between. But towards the end of the game, could be the difference between life and death, because if you're a 5-wound fighter and you've taken 3 or 4, then you're gonna think about what you do. So I quite like Dying Curse. It's an upgrade, but I think that's strong. And then you could play it with the Seal of Retris and put it back, although you'd be dead, so there wouldn't be any point. And then the last word, which is restricted to wizards, but again, I really like it. Thematically, it's really good. I don't think it's that powerful. A range of 1 or 2 attack action takes the wizard out of action. You roll a magic dice and then discard the card. You can use this reaction when this fighter is out of action. Okay. On a roll of a lightning, deal 2 damage to the fighter whose attack action took this fighter out of action. So basically, you roll magic dice and if you get a lightning, which is not that likely but not impossible, then they take 2 damage. Which again, I really like the idea of a venerable wizard breathing his last and dying. Wouldn't work with Dying Curse at the same time, same window, but. I just like that idea. A couple of crazy strong upgrades for you. You've got the Blessing of Behemat. When this fighter makes a move action, this fighter can move through blocked or occupied hexes and cannot be dealt damage by lethal hexes, which is always a nice ability. And you get +1 move, and you get +1 wounds. But after this upgrade has been given to a fighter, discard 1 glory point. And if you can't, then you discard the card. So you basically have to have 2 to play it. That's not a massive. Problem for this card. I mean, it is actually better than 2 upgrades in 1. It's better than Great Speed and Great Strength and Great Fortitude, so it's actually, it's pretty good really. So I think we're going to see that restricted. You have to pay twice for it. So if I say you have to pay twice, it's actually slightly different to that, isn't it? Because you're actually discarding a glory. But even so, you've got to be thinking, I'm going to get more glory back as a result of that. And you can move through blocks and lethal hexes, which is pretty good. Or can't be dealt damage by lethal hexes, which is really strong. Berserker Rage, +1 dice and +1 damage to all the fighters. Range 1 attack actions, Pete. Range 1 attack actions, but it does have a drawback. It's a Berserker Rage. So you completely skip the defense roll and you're just considered to have rolled 0 successes. So basically, as long as somebody gets a success, then they will hit you when you're in your Berserker Rage. So of limited use, but really strong in small model count warbands. And maybe these cards, I haven't gone through them. Maybe they do actually counter that Voltron meta. You wouldn't want this on your Voltron fighter, but with Inspired Attack maybe running and something else on a small fighter, this suddenly on one of your Stalkers or Drizgit or something, it suddenly becomes painful. So maybe as I'm kind of convincing myself as I go through this, but maybe it's not as bad as I think. Insanely Territorial, another nuts card. You can reroll any number of dice in this fighter's defense and any number of attack dice in the attack rolls for this fighter's range 1 and 2 attack actions, but they cannot make move actions. So that's nuts, really, because I mean that's really strong, rerolling all your defense and all your attack dice. But you can't move anywhere. But again, if you're playing in a whole objective situation, your people come near you. Got a range 2 fighter in particular. It could be a really good card. So I like that one. Fortress of Arrogance. It's +2 wounds. So that's pretty solid. But when you are targeted by an attack, you don't roll any rolls any dice, and instead each attack action that targets this fighter results in a critical hit. So it's basically one crit, which is solid, especially if you've got some good upgrades which do extra things with crits. So Fortress of Arrogance, again, positive effect, reasonably strong negative. So I think I've been quite dismissive of this set, possibly fairly. I'm not the only one. But having gone through the cards now, I do feel a little bit better. It's funny, I've read 2 or 3 articles about the cards, and I still didn't really switch me on. But there's something about getting the cards in your hand, I think, that makes you think about it differently. I think, and also you're I don't know, I'm guilty of this too, but you're tailored by the person who's your reading's opinion of what's down. So you shouldn't really take any of our words for it. Go and check these things out for yourself. But I still don't really think we needed this set. I think almost if it had come as a 60 card pack with these cards and even the thingy cards, the I can't remember what they're called, but even the hazard cards in here, that they've just been the normal size. If it had been a little pack and you didn't get all the other gubbins, you didn't get the extra board, you didn't get the plastic, and it would cost a lot less money. Then I think they actually wouldn't be bad additions to the game, and I have been, and we've talked about it, I have been feeling quite down about my Underworlds experience recently. I haven't really had enthusiasm for the game, but actually the cards themselves, I can feel that kind of, there is stuff to this game. And I should definitely say, you should definitely read Matt Set the Tempo's blog if you don't. Set the Tempo, the blog is called. It's called Matt Set the Tempo on our Patreon Discord. Set the Tempo blog. He is trying to encourage people who don't play all out competitive to enjoy the game and to not leave the game, I suppose, and see that there's more than just the absolute competitive meta. And so I feel like that's what we need more of in the game to take it forward. And so maybe I'm not going to play Arena Mortis. I'm not going to get in a room with 6 other people at the moment and play Arena Mortis. But I probably will, some of these cards are quite interesting, and I hope that the build continues that way as we go into Season 5, whatever it's called. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. I still stand by what I said. I think this, and I know they have release schedules, but I think this release is totally unnecessary. It's tone deaf in the situation of where we are at the moment. It really didn't need it on the back of the massive kind of fast loop through the Chasm season. Barely anybody's got a chance to actually sit down and play with their Chasm cards. We didn't need this set at all. But I think the actual cards themselves, there's nothing here that you have to have, I don't think. There's nothing here, with the possible exception of the one about getting a glory if somebody kills you, one of your weak fighters. That could be really good for certain warbands. But I think there's nothing here that you're going to have. There's nothing here that I think there's going to be some cards that are restricted. But I think there are cards that you can play around or avoid getting them. So there's nothing here you have to have. But the cards are interesting, and going forward I hope we see more cards like this, and we'll just have to see how that balances out with the Essentials pack. But that's my thoughts on Arena Mortis. Let me know what you think. Have you got it? Have you played it? And hopefully we'll see you soon for some more Underworlds content. I mean, we are definitely going to be going into Season 5. I think you can expect more casual content from us. We're going to be stepping away, not that we were massively competitive anyway, but we're going to be keeping our distance still from the competitive meta. But hopefully you'll enjoy whatever we produce. And we'll see you soon in the Angels of Sigmar. Bye!